Okay, welcome everyone to this keynote conversation, and I think we should start. Because some people will come in late, so I think we start and then let people come in later. So welcome to everyone. Good afternoon, good good morning, good evening, and my name is Daniel Lam. I am a professor of public administration and director of the Center for Civil Society and Governance at the University of Hong Kong. And I'm serving as the moderator of this keynote conversation. And our keynote speaker for this session is Dr. Prachanda Pradhan. And but before I start this session, let me clarify a little bit the arrangement of this session. I will first introduce Dr. Pradhan. And after that, Dr. Pradhan will give a very short speech, about 20 minutes on his experience in, promoting and studying farmers manage irrigation systems. And after that, I will have some little conversation with him. I will actually ask questions and then he'll respond. And after that, I would actually open up the floor because I think that, I would like, members of the audience to engage in discussion. And, because Dr. Pradhan actually is a very important figure in the study of irrigation, in Nepal, in Asia. So, okay, let me start with a brief introduction. Actually, I try to make the introduction brief, because there's a long list of accomplishments of Dr. Pradhan. So, but I just try to do some cut and paste, and so let me finish it in a quickly. Now, those of us who study irrigation management, farmer management irrigation systems in Nepal and Asia would be familiar with Dr. Pradhan, who is a leading academic who has been studying and promoting farmer managed irrigation system in Nepal and also other developing countries for last over 40 years. His work is grounded upon irrigation management, community development, and public administration. Now, by academic, I want to emphasize the fact that he has been able to combine academic research and practice in the pursuit of the betterment of society. Dr. Pradhan was professor of public administration in Tribhuvan University in Nepal from 1970 until 1980. From 1973 to 75, he was appointed Dean of Institute of Business Administration, Commerce, and Public Administration of Tribhuvan University. He was a research associate at the Kennedy School of Government, Harvard University in 1972, a Fulbright visiting professor at the Center of International Studies, Cornell University in 1979. He was a visiting scholar at the Workshop in Political Theory and Policy Analysis, Indian University in 2002. In 1986, he joined the International Irrigation Management Institute as social scientist to look into farmer managed irrigation systems in Nepal, Bhutan, northern Pakistan, and Thailand. And he has worked in multiple irrigation management projects with various international organizations, including the World Bank and the Asian Development Bank. And of course, he has published, several books, articles, and journals in different, areas. In particular, he worked with Lin Ostrom and others to publish a book on improving irrigation in Asia, sustainable performance of an innovative innovation in Nepal. Dr. Pradhan is still very active today in promoting farmer managed irrigation system. He is currently sitting on the steering committee of the Ostrom Center for Advanced Study of Natural Resources at the Asian Institute of Technology, Bangkok, and also the coordinator of PureNet, a webpage dedicated to rural development in South and Southeast Asia, Thailand. He is also a member of the Board of External Advisors of South Asian Institute of Policy and Governance in North-South University of Dhaka, Bangladesh, and also a visiting professor at the Central Campus of Public Administration, Tribhuvan University, Kathmandu in Nepal. Now, actually, it's just a very brief introduction, because, he has accomplished so much. I'm sure that, I can go on and on and on, but then, I think I better stop here. So without further ado, may I invite Dr. Pradhan, to give the very short speech.
Okay, thank you, Danny. So nice to see you and talk to you.
Yes.
And I would like to thank to the organizers of this conversation for giving me this opportunity to share with you some of my experiences which I went through last 40 years. As I'm supposed to discuss about this farmer-led irrigation system in Nepal, I will be focusing more on Nepal and the development of these policy aspects, the research activities, as well as how the government of Nepal is now looking at the promotion of farmer-managed irrigation system in the overall economic development of the country. So these are the features I will try to focus on during my discussion. As many of you might be aware that public sector irrigation system came into existence in Nepal only in 1923. Before that, almost all irrigation systems are farmer-led or farmer-managed irrigation system. Though irrigation systems were initiated by those kings and rulers of those days, but once the infrastructures are constructed, usually the management of those systems are undertaken by the users themselves. That's why you will see a kind of strong foundation laid down by the history of Nepal. In the meantime, what we see, the local culture, the local rules, regulation, the edicts of the king made possible to have self-organized farmer-managed irrigation system in Nepal. The edict of Ramsar say, late 17th century states that all the conflict relating to the water will have to be resolved by the community itself. Don't bring those kinds of conflict to the palace. That means the people are allowed to manage, to take care, and to utilize the water resources at the community level. So that's a kind of foundation we see over here. And the National Statue of Nepal also provided the opportunity that local people can invest for the promotion of irrigation system. And that particular statute says nobody is allowed to construct irrigation system above the existing irrigation system. They are allowed only to have the construction below the existing irrigation system. That means prior appropriation right by law, by statute, and by customary law guaranteed to the local community. That's why the foundation of farmer-managed irrigation system became so strong in Nepal. Now, what we see after that, what are the general features of farmer-managed irrigation system in Nepal? Generally applicable features that we can see are community, water is considered as community property. It's not individual property as such, basically. And secondly, what we see over here, the water allocation and water distribution would be done by the decision of the community. And then the allocation of water is made so transparent that the community will decide and community will try to resolve the conflict collectively. That's very, very important over here. And whoever get the water, they have a kind of obligation for the operation and maintenance of irrigation system. They have different kinds of rules and regulation. I'm not talking of universal rules and regulation applicable throughout the country. It's, each place might have, say, their rules regulation geared to the local need, local culture, or local, requirement. So that way, what we see over here, the farmers have obligation in exchange of the water right that they are given. In the same way, they have a kind of committee, usually in local language, they call Hulebhai committee, not necessarily water users association, the fancy term being used. In those days, it's the community of the people work together for the management of irrigation system. That's the kind of name given in those days. So if some people do not adhere the community rules and the regulation, they will be punished. And the decision for punishment will be again collective decision. So these are some of the features I would like to highlight over here in relation to farmer managed irrigation system. So what is the volume that we are talking about the farmer managed irrigation system in Nepal? It's estimated about 17,000 units of farmer managed irrigation system in Nepal. So about 16,000 small irrigation system in the hill area of Nepal. As you know, 2/3 of the land of Nepal is under hill, and then 1/3 of the land is in the plain area. So about 1,700 units of irrigation systems are in existence in the Tarai area. So therefore, altogether might be about 17,000 irrigation, 17,000 plus irrigation system in Nepal. The extrapolation is done on the basis of 200 square kilometer area in the Sindhu Palchok district in order to come out with this number. Unfortunately, we don't have inventory as such about the number of farmer managed irrigation system. So this is a kind of big challenge that we are talking about. Then how this farmer managed irrigation system came into existence as recognized entity. Until 1980, it is not recognized as an entity. So during, say, first five-year plan of Nepal, and then the policymakers and the donors in those days, 1950s, early 60s, they consider only government managed irrigation systems are the government systems. And then other systems were not even recognized. The first five-year plan of Nepal estimated that Nepal has only 14,000 hectare irrigation system. They counted only public irrigation system. They did not count the farmer managed irrigation system. As I told you, we don't have any inventory. It's the people who have been managing those water resources, and water resources management at the local level is allowed, therefore no record, nothing like that. And what we will see over here in 1980, Water and Energy Commission Secretariat of Nepal, the Canadians were providing technical support, and one of those technical experts estimated the existence of farmer managed irrigation system on the basis of land classification, not on the basis of number of irrigation system. We have four categories of land classification in Nepal. One type is the system where the land where you have two-time irrigation. That's one type of irrigation. And the land revenue for that irrigation system, for that land will be something different from one-time irrigation. And then no irrigation, that means rain-fed agriculture, and then not agriable land. So four types of land categorizations were made based on the record of land revenue. He calculated that Nepal has tremendous number of irrigation system as the very potential contributor for the food security of Nepal. So only in 1980s, it came as the part of the government policy. And during that time, Cornell University had two students, Bob Yoder and Ed Martin, trying to, they were doing their field work to study farmer managed irrigation system for their PhD, degree. So that gave a kind of new insight about the functioning of farmer managed irrigation system. Academically, Cornell University professors were very active in helping these two graduate students. So in course of time, after finishing their study, they published their thesis, and then farmer managed irrigation system became a kind of new word. Before that, the irrigation system either will be called as community managed, or that will be locally managed, or village irrigation system like in Sri Lanka, not farmer managed irrigation system. But these people came with the term farmer managed because from the study of management side, that means it's managed, mobilized, and administered by the farmers themselves. Therefore, the term came. And then in 1985, International Irrigation Management Institute came into existence, and its headquarters was in Sri Lanka. At that time, they selected three major programs, and one of them is promotion of farmer managed irrigation system, and thought of establishing its center at Kathmandu, Nepal, giving the territorial say jurisdiction to look after northern Thailand, Bhutan, northern Pakistan, and Himachal Pradesh. So that way, Nepal became a kind of center for the study of farmer managed irrigation system. And during that time, what we see that Ford Foundation suggested that why not we take a study on public intervention in farmer managed irrigation system. And during that time, International Irrigation Management Institute organized an international seminar on public intervention in farmer managed irrigation system, where there were participants from, say, Asian countries, African countries, and many scholars from United States as well. And that became a kind of important basis to raise issues. How and what should be the process and procedure for providing intervention to the existing farmer managed irrigation system. And many of you might be aware that that time Philippines was the leading country where they were trying different means and ways of promoting community irrigation system. So in Nepal, Ford Foundation suggested why not we, Nepal International Irrigation Management, take the initiative of understanding the process and procedure of public intervention through action research projects. So International Irrigation Management Institute undertook this study in Sindhu Palchok area, where number of processes were adopted. And one process adaptation was to prepare a kind of inventory of irrigation system. And once those inventory were created, then selection were made, which irrigation system are potential candidate for intervention. And then thirdly, the interventions selection, what to be done and what not to be done, should be decided in collaboration with the farmer, not the engineer deciding to the farmers and imposing them that this is to be done or not to be done. And then farmers to farmers training program. So this project emphasized more on institutional development and capacity development of the farmers. So it took some time for the preparation of the farmers. Once the farmers are prepared to undertake the job, then construction did not take long time, because their cooperation and they have a kind of choice what they want to do. So the construction was part of their interest, not contractors' interest. So that's the kind of approach we took in this study. And so this was done through the research wing of the government called Water and Energy Commission. But unfortunately, Water and Energy Commission could not have a kind of teeth to have this accepted in the Department of Irrigation, because you can see now two types of people. One set of people, engineering group of the people, they know more about how to have a kind of concrete structure constructed quickly, not so much with the institutional development and the capacity development of the farmers. So that issue is still continuing on and on. Yeah, during this time, 1986, 88, it's a kind of turning point for the study of farmer managed irrigation system in Nepal. And that turning point is Lin Ostrom was doing a study on decentralization finance in Bangladesh. And she was invited by the USAID Nepal to come to Nepal and do the study of decentralization of Nepal. And once she came here and had interview with number of the people, and she decided that the decentralization of Nepal is more centralized than decentralized. Therefore, there is no sense of doing this study. So she started looking at some other alternative. And fortunately, I also joined that seminar which she organized. And in one evening, one of the USAID officers invited us for dinner, and we had discussion. And she was so much interested the work that I was doing during this time, that farmer managed irrigation system, and she was also preparing her book on commons. That way we came together, and she wanted to get number of materials from us. IMI provided her lots of materials, whatever we had, and she had established link with another institute called Institute of Agriculture and Animal Science at Chittagong, where they had irrigation study group, which was formed in 1986 during the time when this international intervention, international conference took place. At the time, we went to this institute, and the dean wanted to have this establishment of irrigation study group like that in Philippines, and IMI provided funding for them to do the study, and they started first study in Chittagong, and that study became a kind of very, very fundamental study to bring change in the design of the irrigation system to be funded by Asian Development Bank. So that way, the field-based study in Nepal for farmer-managed irrigation system had a number of impacts in the policy selection, policy decision, as well as in the choice of activities. Previously, the irrigation development in Nepal was basically on what you might call individual system. World Bank or Asian Development Bank will come and provide assistance to one or two irrigation system. But in 1989, government changed the policy. They came out of the policy of basic need fulfillment to the people of Nepal, where food security is one of the important things. And then World Bank and Asian Development suggested that Nepal should go through a sectoral approach than individual irrigation system approach. Therefore, sectoral approach became the basis, and in that sectoral approach, farmer managed irrigation system became the main candidate for the improvement of irrigation system in order to support the food security of Nepal. So that way, farmer managed irrigation system got inroad in the policy decision of the country in Nepal. So that way we see important feature, important contribution of Lin Ostrom, and during her presentation of this acceptance speech for this Nobel Prize, she just presented how farmer managed irrigation system in Nepal is contributing for the self-governance kind of thing. That really gave me a kind of big satisfaction. So she established a kind of Nepal Irrigation Institution study database, and that became a kind of basis for many, many PhD students to work on. And you can see still that has a kind of relevance, and many activities are going on. Finally, Danny, myself, Ganesh Sivakoti, and Lin Ostrom decided, why not we work together to write a book on the experiences of Hindu Palcho, where intervention has different kind of approach and different meaning, and there are many success stories within this one. So we wrote a book, and that book was published in 1911, just about 8 months before the death of Lin Ostrom. Um, and that book is a kind of study of 3 times the basic data at the initial stage, and the midterm evaluation and the third term evaluation, and look at what kind of changes have taken place, how the institution try to survive over a period of time, even during the Maoist, intervention. So that way, institutionalization of farmer managed irrigation system gradually took root in the policy arena of the country. Here we would see over here now farmer managed irrigation system became a kind of major component for the donor agencies like World Bank, Asian Development Bank, and other agencies. They have been supporting for the promotion of say 30,000, 40,000 irrigation hectare irrigation system through their funding. Of course, there are many on say on acceptable consequences of these activities. However, these things are there. In 1998, we, a group of people who are interested in the promotion of farmer managed irrigation system, established an agency called Farmer Managed Irrigation System Promotion Trust. The main objective is we 2, 3, 4 people just engage in the study of farmer managed irrigation system will not take us any long anywhere else. Therefore, what we wanted to have is the young generation people interested in the study of farmer managed irrigation system. So we took 3 major objectives of this FMIST, what we call in short, Farmer Managed Irrigation System Promotion Trust. One is sharing the knowledge and experiences across the border, means outside Nepal. And secondly, train the young people to understand and analyze the farmer managed irrigation system, and then help the middle career people to write their experiences on the management of irrigation system. So with these 3 things, and then each 2-year time, we organize an international seminar of farmer managed irrigation system. As of now, we already organize 8 farmer managed international irrigation system in collaboration with number of agencies, both within Nepal and outside. It's not only FMIST alone effort, it's the collective effort with the larger number of the actors. So this farmer managed irrigation system have come over here. And then I have a couple of minutes that I will take over here. And if one look at what has been the achievement thus far, if one looks at how many PhD students have engaged themselves, their prime time in studying farmer managed irrigation, including Danny. He spent several months and several years in studying farmer managed irrigation system, come out with a very outstanding book on farmer managed irrigation system in Nepal. Similarly, there are about 20 PhDs on farmer managed irrigation system. It's a big academic recognition about the farmer managed irrigation system in Nepal. And these are from the PhD students from Tribhuvan University, Wageningen University of Netherlands, Cornell University, Indiana, MIT, Arizona, Michigan, Colorado, Asian Institute of Technology. These are some of the outstanding universities which have been promoting the PhD students to write their PhD thesis. And still there are many students who are interested in this farmer managed irrigation system. Now we see, and one more, this like IASC is another source which has really promoted the farmer managed irrigation system. I had opportunity first participating this IISC conference in Duke University. That was in 1990. And then again, in 2000, I participated this conference in Indiana University. So there are many institutions we have contributed for the promotion of farmer managed irrigation system in Nepal. Now, where are we? There are many challenges that we are seeing. And these challenges are the challenges brought by climate change, which everybody knows, and how that climate change has really affected the performance of farmer managed irrigation system is a kind of important issue that we have to take care. And the population growth disturbing the watershed has become another big challenge in this farmer managed irrigation system. Out migration of youth from the rural area, causing shortage of able manpower in the rural area. That is another kind of challenge. Of course, number of options have been there, and government interaction with intervention with the farmer managed irrigation system. Government would like to impose more of infrastructure, physical infrastructure than the institutional capacity development. That has become another important issue that we have to take into consideration. And other important issue is there has been now so much of, let's say, technological innovation, yet we don't have the inventory of farmer managed irrigation system. Now we have digitized mapping system. We have many other technologies. Therefore, this inventory preparation through digital system might be another big challenge that we can talk about. So these are some of the challenges that we have to see in this farmer managed irrigation system. So I would like to conclude over here, and then we will have further discussion. Thank you very much, Danny.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Pradhan. Actually, your talk brings back all the fond memories, of doing research in Nepal. And actually, I was very fortunate to be part of your story, and all of a sudden, it's very surreal in the sense that, when you look back, you're one of those who are involved in some very interesting work, and I think I actually, it's actually wonderful, actually. What can I say? But I guess, one of the major so-called accomplishment that Lin and her team did in Nepal was that she was able to gather lots of very solid empirical evidence that shows that farmer managed irrigation systems actually, on average, actually could perform better than the so-called agency managed irrigation systems. Now, not every one of them was doing well, but then on average, the pattern is that most of the farmer managed irrigation system actually perform actually very well. I have not been to Nepal for some time, so I'm just wondering, how are these systems doing these days? Are they, I'm just curious, are they still doing very well, or are they, making, I don't know, what is your observation?
Yeah, I think this is very, very pertinent issue. Anybody will have to consider what is the present status of farmer managed irrigation system, because the existence of farmer managed irrigation system lies not only how the farmers perform, it lies on many other external factors as well. The policy of the government, the technologies and the materials that they have been using, so many other aspects. First of all, I would like to share with you some of the intimate say kind of discussion that I had with Lin Ostrom when she came to Nepal in 2010 after she won Nobel Prize. And we had discussion, and she was invited by the government of Nepal. And government of Nepal organized a discussion program with her, with the secretaries of the government of Nepal. And one of the questions always raised by those secretaries to Lin at that time was, since your study indicate that farmer managed irrigation system perform better than agency managed irrigation system. Why still farmer managed irrigation systems are asking assistance from the government? And then Lin got really upset. And she told me, how can I make these people understand the performance level and the farmers asking for assistance? Any system needs external assistance. And asking external assistance does not mean that they are not performing. That shows their capacity of mobilization of their required resources. Therefore, what I want to add over here, Lin came out with the conclusion that farmer managed irrigation system outperform the performance of agency managed irrigation system through her empirical study of over about 200 irrigation systems in Nepal. Secondly, what we see over here is this the farmer managed irrigation system are there for a long period of time. As I told you, almost 70% farmer managed, almost 70% irrigation system belong to the category of farmer managed irrigation system, and only 30% irrigation system belong to the agency managed irrigation system. That means there has not been change in the figure. And secondly, the policy of the government says that government would like to transfer more power to the farmers than managing by themselves. That is another policy of the government. So by this aspect, I would say the existence of farmer managed irrigation system will be there and it will continue, whereas the approach, the method might be different. Now the systems will be different. What the government will have to do is how to provide appropriate type of support, help, technical help. They are the important thing, not saying that farmers are not doing the job. The government has to work out the mechanism where they can provide appropriate information when they need that kind of information, the appropriate type of materials for the construction. In those days, the woods, the bamboos, the boulders would be the prime construction materials. Now, no more. You are not allowed to go to the forest and cut the trees. So you need to have given wire, you need to have cement, you need to have other materials. And there has been change from labor-based management activities to cash-based management activities. These changes we have to take into consideration. Thank you very much.
Okay, all right. No, yes. Okay. Those of you who want to ask question, please raise your hand. Okay, but let me ask my question first. Okay. I see that Stephanie wants to ask a question, but let me ask another very quick question actually, because it's related to the things that Dr. Pradhan just mentioned. I understand that external assistance is very important, but then I guess one of the very important factors contributing to the success of self-governance is farmers' ability and willingness to engage in what Lin's called the so-called crafting and recrafting of rules, right? So I still remember, we visited the systems and actually observed how the farmers actually engage in very vigorous discussion about what kind of rules should be set up, how the rules should be designed, And people usually have a very romantic sort of imagination of self-governance, farmers, they come together and work. But the reality, of course, is that there's lots of struggle, lots of conflict, all sorts of things. So I'm not going to take it for granted that, that kind of rule crafting activities, we should not take that for granted. So I'm just wondering, nowadays, have you observed, the continuation of this kind of vibrancy of, self-governing sort of rule crafting activities among farmers, or is there any difference?
This is very, very important issue that you have raised. When we talk about a self-governing, say, entity, that means the actors have to come out with the rules and the regulations to govern themselves and to mobilize themselves. These are very, very important things. Back in 1992, or even before that, World Bank put the condition that until there are water users association in place, we are not going to provide assistance to those irrigation systems. And the government people said, yes, yes, we have rules and regulation for the water users association. And many water users association were formed under the Association Act of Nepal. And that Association Act of Nepal was actually a kind of act which has the intention of controlling the governance system. During that time, government did not want to have many NGOs or the organizations taking independent decisions. They would like to have a kind of control mechanism, and this Water Users Association under Association Act is a kind of control mechanism. Because of that, what happened? The people were the water users associations members were given a set of rules and regulations to follow by them, not crafting the rules regulation by themselves, right? And secondly, many irrigation systems became the candidate for assistance. And in order to have, in order to be eligible for assistance, they have to have a water users association registered. And during that registration, they have to have a constitution, and then model constitutions were also given. Therefore, government took a kind of very shortcut kind of measures whereby rules regulation were imposed on them based on control mechanism. As a result of it, recently assisted farmer managed systems were more controlled by the government than those systems which did not receive any kind of assistance. And then two sets of water users association came into existence in many places, because interacting with the government means they have to have a kind of political power as well. So all the farmers don't have that political power. They form one water users association with the members who have political power. And then for their day-to-day operation within the village, they have traditional water users association following the rules and the regulation, what they have been adopting and adjusting. So that way, you can see now in many places, these kinds of things are coming. And other important thing that I am facing myself recently, I have been asked by World Bank to provide a kind of assistance to strengthen water users association of one of the largest irrigation system in Nepal called Rani Jamara Kuleria irrigation system, 15,000 hectares, funded by the World Bank. So they have, let's say, 2 billion Nepalese rupees for the infrastructure development, and they have about $1 million for the farmer managed irrigation system capacity development. And then the judgment for the performance of that irrigation system is not on the basis of how much capacity the farmers have developed. How much money have been spent became the kind of important factor. So therefore, institutional development just put aside, and something else came into forefront. And this is not a kind of new story I'm telling. In many countries, this situation is coming up on and on and on, killing the self-governing, self-regulating, and self-supporting local organizations. So this is the status of farmer managed irrigation system users organization at present.
Okay, thank you. So I see that Stephanie wants to raise a question. Yes, Stephanie.
Yeah, hi Prachanda, nice to see you. I hope you're doing well. Yeah, I just want to challenge a bit this assumption that rural out-migration automatically has a negative effect on the farmer managed irrigation systems, because we just finished collecting the data in Doti and Dadildura, which is in the far west of Nepal, 2 districts covering 10 systems. We are in the middle of analysis, so it's kind of still in process, but the data shows actually that the households with migrants are more involved in irrigation systems than those without migrants. And I think this is a very exciting thought, and I think it links also to the question to Jagadish Parajuli, to think because these systems of management have been so flexible, so dynamic, so adaptive, that they are not necessarily deteriorating because of new social, political, and maybe also climatic changes going on. There are challenges, but like the study I conducted with 380 households was basically coming out of my 5-6 years of qualitative studies in the same village, in 2 of the 10 villages. And I had these qualitative insights that they were actually not negatively affected by that. So I'm sure you're very happy to hear this. And also in terms of the ongoing political changes, the federalization in Nepal, I think there are a lot of restructuring going on how farmers can actually access funds to support their systems. But again, this relies heavily on local political ties. So those committees who have already strong political ties, they also continue to know how to, or they are quick in receiving the information on how to access funds from within the new government structure, which is in a way which shows, so it's kind of this reflection that as soon as there are very strong local ties within the irrigation committees, but also to the external agencies or towards governments, there is strong support for sustaining the systems. So I would just be interested to hear your feedback on this, and I'm sure you have some opinion on this.
Yeah, so nice to see you after almost a year or so. Anyway, you have been doing this very interesting study on out-migration and its impact on irrigation performance or irrigation system and its influence on economy overall. As you know, myself, Root, and group of people, Wai-Fung, have been doing study on out-migration and impact on agriculture, right? So I did a study of 10 irrigation system across Nepal, and then we found that the assumption was once there is out-migration, that will create a kind of vacuum of many things, including labor. So vacuum of labor might cause adverse impact on agriculture as well as on irrigation management. But our study indicated that is not the case. There have been many changes. Changes have taken place. Say, in the case of, role of women, in many places, what you will find, the role of women has become reinforced and became the active decision maker for the farm management as well as labor management. And then with the introduction of technology like the cell telephone or mobile telephone, these people can mobilize laborers not only from within their village or within their district, but from outside district as well. Therefore, what we assume that there might be vacuum of labor, but that did not take place. Agriculture and women became the manager of agricultural activities. That is very important part. And then there has been, to some extent, mechanization of agriculture. That means previously women used to have to take care of block and then go to the forest for the further collection and all those kinds of things. Now blocks are no longer in household. Instead, they have been using tractors, and which is cheaper than maintaining the corn. And instead of having bullock, they now specialize in milking cow or milking buffalo, which give them more money. And then stall feeding did not require the women to go to the forest for the collection of fodder. So that way, just for a few example, what we see over here, the role of women has definitely changed, and agriculture has not deteriorated as was expected. This is our study, and your study also indicated almost the same. I don't know whether you had our study, we had this webinar sometimes ago. If you don't have, I can share with you that webinar, our discussion and the finding. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Jagadish, you want to raise the question, or Prachanda has just answered your question? Jagadish, you want to raise a question?
Jagadish is mute.
Yeah, thank you. Greeting, Prachanda sir. So, yeah, we have very glorious history of FMIS in Nepal. And then at the same time, when we had a glorious history, agriculture was the major source of income for the Nepali community, and they worked so hard to manage the irrigation system. So at that time, collective action was very, very high. But now people are migrating, they are getting remittance, and then there is the other environmental factors, climate change, population growth, everything happening now. And then once they have the alternative income sources, and they are showing lesser interest on the agriculture, which impacted the collective action. So in these circumstances, right? So in these circumstances, what will be the future of collective action in the glory of history of FMIs in Nepal? So this is my first question. And the second is, how can we manage FMIs sustainably in the future? Thank you, sir.
Okay, it's very interesting. One, collective action and sustainability. Now, let me come to this question of collective erosion of collective activities through the outmigration of youth from the rural area. And to some extent, you are right, but to the greater extent, what one can see now is there has been a kind of change in the attitude and approach of the youth who have visited to those countries where they had to work so hard, and then the return out of their effort became quite unsatisfactory to many, many youth. Those people who have come back, if you survey them, you will be surprised to see how they have become entrepreneurs in agricultural activities. And many of them have been saying that our root of economy is agriculture. Therefore, we should not shy away from agriculture. We have to come back to agriculture. And you might see development of livestock by these people who have come back from those migration, and those people who have engaged collectively for the vegetable farming. Say, commercialization of agricultural activities have become another effort you can see across the country, not only in one place or another place. Therefore, what I see now is a kind of big change among the youths of Nepal, that they don't want to, go out. And the popular livestock activity has become basically piggery. People feel that if you go piggery, then you can make lots of money at short period of time. And then that has, again, brought a kind of revolutionary change. Previously, piggery would be done only by certain caste group. Now, the Brahmin, Kshetri, and all those people, their main concern is the economic return, not those traditional kinds of. So look at what I'm trying to say. there has been a kind of change. And that change might be a kind of positive change that we have to look at. And secondly, sustainability of irrigation system, as I told you, that the sustainability of irrigation system has been challenged by population, out-migration, mismanagement of watershed system, on timely distribution of agriculture inputs and wrong agriculture policy. These are different kinds of things. So it's important to look at that one factor alone is not going to bring sustainable FMIS. It has to have a kind of collective effort. If you create a kind of division among the water users within an irrigation system through the assistance program, then sustainability will be challenged, as well as that irrigation system in course of time will be the dysfunctional one. You have seen that, I have seen that. So many factors that we have, but still I hope our survival is dependent, the Nepalese economy, agriculture survival depend on the farmer managed irrigation system. It would continue over a period of time. And I have seen lots of adaptations coming up. Thank you.
Okay, so we still have 2 minutes because I've been reminded by the organizer that we have a very packed program today. So we need to finish this session on time. So who wants the honor of asking the last very short question? Any question from members of the audience? Well, no. Okay, so then I'll ask my question. Well, actually, very briefly, Dr. Pradhan, you mentioned that the introduction of the water users associations, to some of the systems in a way that might actually be detrimental to the self-governing ability of farmers, in the sense that people sometimes government try to implement the WA sort of things. Like a panacea, a template, that people to follow. So, but are there any? So, what kind of advice would you give? If the government actually come to you and say, okay, how better we can do it, instead of producing this kind of template.
So, I'm not suggesting to use a kind of particular template for the revitalization of water users association as such. What we have been given lesson by the farmer managed irrigation system in Nepal is there cannot be one uniform rules regulation for the performance of farmer managed irrigation system. Therefore, we have to allow the farmers to make decision by themselves. That is the important thing we have to take into consideration while helping the assistance to the farmer managed irrigation system. At the moment, this part is missing in Nepal and might be the case in other countries as well. So we academicians and we practitioners, we researchers have to push the idea to donor agencies. Look, money alone is not going to help. That has already proven since 1960s that whatever amount you put in the infrastructure development is not going to help to increase the agricultural production. That lesson we have to learn and come out solution to address this issue. Thank you very much.
Okay, all right. With that note, I think we need to conclude this session because it's already 4 o'clock. So thank you very much, Dr. Pradhan, and I hope that people who are interested in your work can continue to discuss with you through other channels. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.